Well, here we are with our last standardbred down to the wire, and I got one of the most unique individuals here, I believe. We go way back. Murray Slough, we'll start there. Welcome to Down to the Wire.
Thanks, Jackson.
Murray's got one of the most interesting lives, I think. Everybody's heard his voice. A few people have seen him for sure. But I think it's an interesting story. You go way back. We go back to Stampede Park days and that. I guess, tell me all the tracks that you've announced at. We'll start there.
Okay, well, I started at Whoop Up Downs in Lethbridge. Always a fun one to say. That's Rocky Mountain Turf Club now, but it was Whoop Up Downs when I started. I was 23 years old. 1993, so that was 25 years ago. And then from there, I actually got lucky and was able to come to Stampede Park after some of the races from Lethbridge got simulcast. And was at Stampede Park for 11 years, as you know, Jackson. But also have announced at Alberta Downs in Lacombe. I've done quite a bit at Northlands as well. I used to do quite a bit there. I announced one race at Fraser Downs, and that would be pretty much it.
Now you're missing
and
the big one.
Of course, Century Downs.
Oh, and how about Grand Prairie?
Oh yes, of course, Grand Prairie. I forgot about Grand Prairie. 7 hours each way every time.
Now this goofy guy, he would. It's exactly what I would. I'd say, hi Murray, how are you? I was up for a couple of those years too, and he drove up from Calgary and then would even drive home. Some nights you didn't even stay over.
I would go home pretty much every Sunday, mostly because I wanted to play softball on Tuesday, and then I'd drive back up on Friday for the next weekend, and it was 7 hours every single time, and that was a long trip.
Very, very goofy, and no moose, I guess. You didn't hear any moose on the way up or back anyway. So now we've switched. We're just ending our standardbred meet today. Thoroughbreds coming next week. I know you've done dual breeds before. You've done them both. Tell me the main difference from an announcer's point of view.
It's really just the terminology you have to be careful with. Any announcer is going to, the odd time after calling harness racing for 5 months in a row, they're going to say that one of the riders is driving. They're going to say driven by or driving or that kind of thing. Or you have to get out of the, you can't get into the harness racing terminology like second over or any of that kind of stuff. I also kind of seem to not call the fractions as much in thoroughbreds. It doesn't seem like that's as important. The final time you don't necessarily have to say. But yeah, the terminology is different. Other than that, you're looking at the horses, you're watching for horses making moves, you're being accurate on where all the horses are. It's really not that much different.
I don't think that's right, but that's what he's saying. That's his story. All right, so now there's different ways of announcing. I know that some people memorize the program pages, some memorize the driver's colors, which you would be certainly more apt to know in the standardbreds. Now all of a sudden the thoroughbreds come along and they've got a whole bunch of different colors. Even the saddle pads are different colors. How do you cope with all that?
Well, for harness racing, I definitely do go by the drivers. I know all the drivers, not only their colors, but what they look like sitting in the bike. I also know a fair number of the horses, but for sure I go by the drivers with harness racing. Thoroughbreds, I basically will go by the saddle pads and relying on also the helmet on the rider being that same color really helps if you can't see the saddle pad. And then you just have to be used to the fact that some of the saddle pad colors do change slightly from harness racing to thoroughbreds. You just kind of get that ingrained into you. And that is generally what I go by. There's some owner's silks that I know in thoroughbreds because of course the rider's wearing the owner's silks, but I don't know all of them. So I can't really rely on that. But yeah, mostly the saddle pads for thoroughbreds does make it a little bit tougher.
Okay, now we're going to throw in another mix. Now the quarter horses come, which you wouldn't have done too many before you came to Century Downs here. What's the strategy there? You got about 11 seconds or whatever it is. What is the goal to... Do you try and get through the field once, or do you even bother?
I do try to get through the field once. The goal is to make sure to call the winner. That is the number one and only goal with any quarter horse race. They're going to come out of the gate, basically run into each other. Then you try to see who actually comes through the fray and maybe leading. And you got to call that horse for sure. I do try to call every horse once if I can. The first race I ever called in Lethbridge was a quarter horse race. It lasted about 13 seconds. So I have done it before, mostly in Lethbridge. And I try to get through the field once and then just really concentrate on who's at the front and get that, out as quick as you can. Otherwise, you're calling them way past the wire, which is not what people want.
And things have changed so much nowadays. Everything's video and everything's on YouTube and everything's accessible. You can't imagine you can even think about that, or else you would tend to freeze just knowing that the world's listening to you. But in reality, they are.
It's a good point because, horse race calling is a unique thing. A lot of people think it might be easy because they have some radio experience or something like that. But really, it's you have one take. and you don't have a chance to say, let's do it again, because whatever happens, happens. And if you say something, it's out there, and they can definitely hear it on the replays, like you mentioned, Jackson. And you can't really, you can prepare by learning the horses, but you can't, there's no script, there's no preparation that'll tell you what's going to happen in the race. So really, you just have to see what happens and describe it, and then do the best you can. And once you do it, there's no take two. So it's out there, and that's fine. But it is different from the old days where really replays were hard to come by. Rolling here for the third, it's the first division of the Asha Filly Stake for the 2-year-old fillies. And group of 7 fillies moving in, lining up. Starting gate is rolling. From the rail, it's Bim Bam Boom with Paul Davies. Post 2, how about starting? Keith Clark. The 3 for Go Away and Play, Rod Hennessy. Post 4, heavy 1 to 5 favorite. That's Lady Nene and Brandon Campbell. 5, Beach Baby Blue, Nathan Sobey. Post 6 for Bearcat Romy, Jamie Gray. And the outside 7, Max Samian with Dave Kelly. Field swings to the backstretch. And the field now in the hands of starter Jim Dakowitz. And it's post time. First division, Asha Filly Stake. They're off. And pacing out quickly, the favorite Lady Nene, taking no chances, and Campbell moves her right to the top. Max Samian with a good start as well, and she looks for the pocket. It's Lady Nene then driving on. Max Samian gets into the 2-hole. How about starting has got away in third. Then back and forth, it's Bim Bam Boom. In behind that one, Go Away and Play. And then you've got Beach Baby Blue, Bearcat Romy. You can see them all from back there in 7th. It's Lady Nene then up front for Campbell. She controls the racetrack and her own destiny. Opening quarter, 28-2. Campbell flat out on the bike here, trying to grab a breather with Lady Nene as she shows the way past the grandstand and the fans here. Right there second is Max Samian. And then you've got how about starting from third. Bim Bam Boom is looking at it fourth as they move on to the clubhouse turn. Back in 5th. Go Away and Play, and then Beach Baby Blue, and your trailer Bearcat Romy as Lady Nene. She gets the front end respect here. No one wants to tangle with her too early, and she gets a soft half, 59 seconds flat, 30-3 in the second quarter. Lady Nene now down the backside. She's let out a notch. She's got 2 on Max Samian, who may be the major danger. She's right there in second. How about starting is attending well from third. Gapping of it fourth is Bim Bam Boom. And then it's Go Away and Play. Beach Baby Blue is moved to the outside by Sobey, but she's got about 10 lengths to make up. And the trailer Bearcat Romy as they race to the 3 quarters. It's Lady Nene pouring it on now. 3 quarters, 127-2. 28-2 third quarter. Lady Nene off stride on the final turn as she was opening up on this field. Lady Nene has made a break, and a shocking turn of events here on the final turn. Lady Nene was clear, and she went off stride. Max Samian has taken over now. How about starting on the outside, trying to hunt her down? Max Samian and Dave Kelly keeping the margin here, and it's going to be Max Samian to go on to score. Second was how about starting. Closing third was Bearcat Romy, then back to Go Away and Play, as it was Max Samian in the upset here, 159 flat.
So on a personal note, I think you have an exciting life, or a different life for sure. You are a handicapper. You've done lots of handicapping shows and different racetracks and that. And I know way back that you owned a couple horses, standardbreds. But tell me about a book. You also wrote a handicapping book. It's quite a while ago now.
Yeah, I wrote it in 1995. It came out in 1996. It's called Bet Like a Chicken, Eat Like a Chicken. Memorable title. You could still find it on Amazon. It says out of print, but it's on there. And it's a book that I wrote about harness racing, handicapping, because honestly, I couldn't find a book that I found to be anywhere near comprehensive or satisfying to a harness handicapper. There was a lot of thoroughbred books out there, not many for harness. I was doing well betting the harness races at that time. I was 25 at that time, and I just wrote my own book, and it was well received. I sold every copy that was printed, but of course then it did go out of print. But I have had people from as far away as Finland tell me they enjoyed the book, New Jersey, all over the place. So I was happy with it, and if someone could get a copy, I would say it still probably holds up fairly well today. I wouldn't change a whole lot of what I have in there.
And we've talked handicapping a little bit. I'm interested in the Ontario circuit, and so are you. So we've talked. I know we would never bet the same horse. I bet way too many favorites. And I know you've got different styles. You like to play the superfectas, the exotic pools. Just give me a quick recap. I know you caught a real good one we talked about the night. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but it's out there. So I thought it was a wonderful bet that you made and a score that you deserved.
Yeah, I had a pretty good score last year, which was a funny thing. It was in the pick 5 wager at Mohawk, and ended up splitting the pool. I got $26,000. Another bettor got $26,000, who happens to be a friend of mine, Don McDougall, who works for ASHA now. We used to sit at the races at Stampede Park and handicap and talk about the races and analyze them and everything like that. And then we ended up splitting the pool in a Mohawk pick 5. I guess it was last May. I was only live with one horse in the last leg. He had a little bit better ticket. He had 5 horses live, but my horse did win. We split the pool, and that actually is my favorite bet at Mohawk, is the pick 5. Has a low takeout, 15%, first 5 races, no jackpot component to it. They pay it out every night, and it usually pays quite well, I think, considering what you have to do to get it. And with the 20-cent element, I do tend to take board in some races that are difficult. They have 10 horse fields there. If it's a wide open race, I don't see a problem taking board there. It's not that expensive, so that's one of my strategies I use there for the pick 5.
And the pick 5 wasn't even invented when you wrote your book, so but probably the same theories. Sure. Now, on another note, wife Andrea, is a school teacher, I believe, or works in the school system. And you have, like you just told me a few minutes ago, I think you forced her into liking the same stuff as you do. But there's no kids involved. You like college football. A holiday would be a college football. Go to a racetrack. You both have your betting accounts, from what I gather. And I don't know if you have to be in separate rooms when you make wagers or not. But that just sounds like a dream life for somebody that loves the things that you do.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, she was luckily a sports fan somewhat and had played hockey as a kid when I met her, but she wasn't the rabid sports fan she is now. But we have 5 TVs in our basement. Our dream is basically put the 5 football games on there, follow our bets, follow our fantasy teams, and that's basically heaven for us. When we do go on holidays, we've gone to the Rose Bowl, we've gone to NFL games, we've gone to quite a few events. Usually go to a racetrack. We've been to Santa Anita a few times, beautiful place. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have someone that will share those things with me, because that's my passion. I love that stuff, and it's even going to be better this year because she actually has a year off from school, so we have a chance to take some more trips when there's not racing here at Century Downs, of course. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Great story. You got a great lifestyle, a great past, and look forward to the Thoroughbred meet coming up. We'll probably do this again maybe sometime in the Thoroughbreds and discuss that a little bit more. Thank you very much for joining us down to the wire. Thank you for the Standardbred people that have joined us. I hope you still all and will consider watching us during the Thoroughbreds. We'll keep this show going and really enjoyed it being part of it as well. Thank you.